Hello guys and welcome back. So I have the source ready and I didn't change anything. Let's take a look and see what we have now. The sim is low res, so it's not capturing all these tendrils because there's not enough voxels to be able to represent them, and we need to always do high res versions or mid res where we actually capture all the details of the tendrils so that we feed in the same amount of data that we to the solver and know exactly what's going to happen. Because right now, if we have low res settings, we are going to not inject everything that is coming from the source into the sim because the voxels are not capturing all of that. And what I do is I generally sim at this rate, at this resolution, and then from there I once I'm happy with the movement and everything, I go up to mid res. I do a couple more tweaks, and then in the high res as well I do one to five tweaks. Generally depends on how much time I have, and the final answer is always going to come from the high res version. Even if the mid res is really cool, you're going to see something different or some more details that are only visible in the high res. And so there's multiple stages of iteration, but unfortunately because of how long the sim takes, generally I'm not going to be able to sim at a high res in real time and or do wedges at a high resolution. I'm only going to show you guys existing sims and their settings. Okay, so what we have here, we have the explosion going up, and I think it's working pretty well now. This is definitely, it has all the behaviors that I'm looking for. Now, the main thing that I see here is that, let me turn off the temperature display. Okay, let's turn on some lighting. Actually, let's see it here. Okay, so the main thing that I see is it's getting destroyed a lot. The noise is too strong for it, but I wanted to get it up higher, a lot higher, so I want to increase the buoyancy. Number one. Number two, actually, before we increase the buoyancy, I want to increase the volume, the amount of smoke that gets generated. Right now it's very thin, we don't have a lot of data to work with, and that's the first thing that I want to change. And from there I'm going to increase the buoyancy to cause it to go up higher, but I'm not going to change any noise or anything like that. And you can see already with just that change, with multiplying it by the density, we're getting something like an explosion with the rolling and everything. And this is really cool because if we sim this at a high resolution, we're going to have something very, very interesting. Actually, I'm going to run a couple of frames to show you guys. This explosion is going to look really nice once we sim it at a high resolution, and it doesn't have to go really high, just even this level will be enough to create something very, very interesting visually. And what we want now is to make this existing sim go up higher and look much bigger in terms of scale. So I'm gonna wait for it. I'm actually gonna pause. I want to show you guys. We'll let it run up to frame 30 and then I'll unpause. So it's still simming up to frame 35, and actually this result is much better than the one we saw before. And the reason for that is because the solver has more voxels. The smoke object has higher resolution, hence it's capturing more data from the input, and it's generating more information for the temperature and everything, and that results in something completely different every time. So in this case, if I start tweaking at this level, I'll stay at this level doing various tweaks, and then I'll do 2 or 3 more at a high resolution. But look at this already without changing pretty much anything except multiplying it by the density field. And let me show with the temperature. Let's see which one has the temperature. Okay, this one. You can see it's ballooning, and then it's going upward. Now it's too bright, which is good. I like to have temperature high that goes from 0 to 1000. That gives me a lot of range to work with, and there is a lot of information there, so I'm generally happy to see that. Let's increase this capturing range. Cool. So that's pretty much it. That's all I have to do now. Even I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. I would increase the settings a bit more for the resolution, and just hit sim, and I should have a very interesting explosion. Okay, so let me display it with high res so we see it better. No more details, I think. Yeah, this is the maximum resolution that we have currently. But you can see we're getting all these interesting suction effect, and this is really challenging to create in general. You see how this nice layering here where you have temperature nicely placed, and this is all coming because of the solver. As you can see, I'm not doing anything fancy. So the next thing I want to change, I'm going to increase this back to 4. And the next thing I want to change is I want to add more expansion. So let's find that the divergence temperature, and right now it's set to 3. Okay, it's injecting into. I'm not injecting anything into the divergence. Looks like it. Now we're creating the divergence from our from the source, and this solver, to be honest, is not the best one. The best one I've made is in week 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this as it is, and I'm going to add another one. So this temperature, I'm actually going to inject some of that into the divergence. And let's change it to set always because I want to animate that. I'm going to set this to 6. And I'm going to set it to 0 at frame 16. It's too high, but let's see what we get. It's probably going to expand too much, but we'll see. So what I'm going to do next is, yeah, it's expanding too much. If we, once we like something, I'm gonna pause the video and change the settings to mid-res and then do a sim. And right now it's expanding too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna change this to 2, because it's probably this field here is really high. So the fact that we're injecting it as it is probably gonna make it expand too much. I'm gonna move this back to 9. And sometimes the blast does not happen in the first frame, only after maybe it starts from 6 up to 15, and that's when we want the expansion to happen. In this case, I think that's one of the cases. It's one of the cases where that may be the case. So I'm gonna move this to 6, and let's set it to 0 here. Let's move this. And delete it. It's hard to key. So I'm gonna set it to 0 here. Gonna set it to 3 frame 10 and then 0 back again. Let's hit play. And this is this part here, these first 20 frames, is something that I generally speed up, because it's much harder to get fast, to get a very fast expansion or blast in the sim, and it's much easier to do it in comp. As a post-process, you just speed up these 20 frames into 10 frames, and you don't have to do a lot of things in the solver. So it's expanding too much. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to set this to 0.5, which I think is still high, but let's see. So once we like something, I'll increase the resolution and sim and see what we get. I'm just trying to get this part here to expand a little bit. Okay, cool. I think it's working. Probably not too much. I'm gonna change this to 0.75. I'm gonna increase the resolution to 2. And I'm gonna sim and see what we get. We'll continue in the next video. Thank you guys for watching and see you in a bit.